Thank you, Mr. Chair. In congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people that Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens. I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hirschenoff. Ms. Owens said, quote, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. So when people try to legitimize Adolf Hitler, does that feed into white nationalist ideology?
It does, Mr. Liu. I know that Ms. Owens distanced herself from those comments later, but we expressed great concern over the original comments.
Great, thank you. So there's been a lot of talk today. I'd like to focus on actual policy responses that our government can do to try to mitigate the threat of white nationalism. I know that in my district in Los Angeles just last month, 2 swastikas were painted at Pan Pacific Park along with a trail of blood. I met with Jewish constituents in my district who mentioned that at their synagogues, they've all had to increase security. As you know, there is a nonprofit security grant program at the Department of Homeland Security. Do you believe it'd be worthwhile to increase funding to that program?
The ADL has, for establishment reasons, First Amendment reasons, been very cautious and wary of government funding to religious institutions. That being said, we well understand the fear and the safety. So I think that is something that has to be done very carefully in terms of one entanglement. I know in the place where in Westchester County where I live, the state and local governments provide a great deal of protection to the synagogue to which I belong. So I do understand, and I would like to work more with Congress, but I want to caution about where we entangle. This is a very difficult thing to do because when we're scared like this, of course we want money.
So that is a great point you make, and I want to note that this program would apply to mosques as well as synagogues, so it is not specific to the religion. But it is true, the First Amendment does affect all of these issues, including, for example, private sector companies to say whatever it is that they want. Now, I'd like to also talk about a second program, and this was one that I asked Ms. Clark about, and it has to do with the Trump administration wanting to cut a very specific office called the Community Relations Service Office in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Can you first explain to American people what that office does and why it would be a bad idea to cut funding?
The Community Relations Service Office is a very critical part of the Justice Department. They are considered the peacemakers. They are the ones who step into communities that are embroiled in the aftermath of a hate incident. They are the ones who you'd want to deploy out to Louisiana, to the parishes where the churches are burning right now. They're the ones that you'd want on the ground right after the Charlottesville hate rally. We are deeply concerned by proposals to cut funding to this office, to shift this office to another part of the agency. It's important that this agency's work be completely non-political, but the very subject matter of this hearing today underscores the urgency of maintaining this office that has been with us for decades.
And in fact, one of the reasons this office has worked well is because people who go there and get interviewed, it is not a prosecutorial office, and does that make it easier for people to provide information?
That's right. They are the peacemakers. They are the ones who go in and connect with communities that are suffering in the aftermath of a hate incident. They connect with victims of crimes and hate crimes and connect them with services. And most importantly, they're the ones who help to ensure that an incident doesn't escalate and lead to more tension. So we need this agency now more than ever.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would yield my time to Mr. Reschenthaler from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Ms. Owens, I'm sorry, we just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Liu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me was pertaining to whether or not I believed that whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
Thanks, Mrs. Owens, and I yield the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by thanking you for calling this hearing today, and I want to thank my colleagues and the witnesses for engaging seriously with a serious problem. I'm proud also that I'm a member of the House of Representatives that adopted the most comprehensive and forceful denunciation of anti-Semitism in the history of the U.S. Congress on March 7th, 2019. One of our colleagues has repeated the talking point that somehow this was a watered-down resolution because we included other forms of racism and bigotry and hate violence. And I just want to take a second to dissent from that view. The white supremacists and nationalists that we're discussing today hate minorities of almost every particular color, religion, race, character, ethnicity. So how could it conceivably be an effective or comprehensive response to the problem that faces us today to pick out one form of bias and prejudice and to target simply that one? And speaking as a Jewish person, I feel very strongly that the effort to defend Jews against anti-Semitism is integrally linked to the effort to defend African Americans and Hispanics, members of the LGBT community, Muslims, and others against white nationalist, white supremacist, and racial violence. So far from watering the resolution down, we strengthened that resolution. We made it a powerful statement of the values of this institution. Now, Ms. Hershenoff, I want to come to you. In 2018, there were thousands of hate crimes across the country, and 50 people in America were murdered by domestic extremists, which marks a 30% increase over the prior year. 49 of the people murdered, or 98%, died at the hands of white nationalists and white supremacists and anti-government extremists, as you have described them. In 2017, the FBI documented more than 7,000 hate crimes, which was a sharp increase over just a few years before. And these are crimes that are motivated by racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim bias, and anti-LGBT bias. Now, the Anti-Defamation League is involved every single day in the struggle against hate crimes and hate violence. The administration, as I understand it, has made an 84% cut from a program called Combating Violent Extremism. The budget went from $21 million under the prior administration to $3 million in this administration, slashing the staff from 16 full-time employees to 8 or fewer. Will you tell us about the Combating Violent Extremism program and what this cut might mean?
Thank you. What we need and what the ADL wants is preventing violent extremism. Now, I want to acknowledge that there have been criticisms from some of my colleagues in vulnerable communities that sometimes in the past that program profiled Muslims. And I want to say something. I want to take this moment to clarify from our experts who track violence from those who pervert the Muslim faith. There's absolutely anti-Semitism among them, as there is among all extremists. However, suggesting that this reflects the whole of the Muslim community is inaccurate and strikes fear and perpetuates conspiracies against all Muslims, which we've seen the results in real life.
And you certainly would not want to ascribe extremist, racist, or terrorist views to particular religions. At that point, we're just headed towards religious warfare, right?
So there needs to be much more, you're right, Mr. Raskin, much more in preventing violent extremism, in tracking and in interrupting that violence. But what I would say, the ADL actually believes that civil society groups like those that Ms. Patterson and others are, and academics and academics institutions are better situated right now to look at the de-radicalization. Where is hate? How do we do it? Where's the prevalence? And how do we...
Let me stop you there just because I want to get one question into Ms. Patterson. Right. I appreciate that. So one of the groups that lost money was called Life After Hate. They had a $400,000 grant that just got axed. We had a big rally against the white supremacists who came to Washington on the one-year anniversary of the Charlottesville murder of Heather Heyer. And we had people from this group, Life After Hate. They took young people who'd gotten into extremist groups because it gave them a sense of belonging. It gave them a sense of membership. Some people are actually racist, anti-Semitic ideologues, and others are confused, unemployed young people who have nowhere to go. And this group is working to get them out of it, Life After Hate. And I wonder what you know about Life After Hate and other groups that are actually trying to get young people out of this dead end of white extremist activity.
The gentleman's time has expired. The witness may answer the question.
I've read very compelling stories from people who used to be skinheads and white supremacists who figured out this was wrong and they went a different way. And once again, I would say to all members of this committee, but particularly the Republicans, to say to the administrative branch of government, to the executive, please fund these programs. It's nice that you talk about your aversion to white supremacy, but we need some...